They say time doesn't heal everything. Sometimes it just buries the wound deep enough that folks forget it's there, right up until somebody comes along and pokes it with a sharp enough stick. And let me tell you, nothing pokes like a homeowners association with delusions of empire. That's how all this started 16 years after I walked out on my job investigating land disputes thinking I'd finally found peace. I ended up right back in the middle of a fight I never asked for, but one I damn sure wasn't going to lose. I spent 2 decades wading through bureaucrats, fraudsters, slick-talking title flippers, and cigar-chomping urban planners, all hell-bent on turning justice into a game of profit. My last case broke something in me. A family lost their orchard because some HOA found a loophole to redraw district lines and a lazy judge rubber-stamped it without reading past the cover sheet. I quit that night, packed up my files, and decided if the world wanted to turn honest dirt into cash, I'd find my own patch of land and dig in. Use my severance, a bit of inheritance, and a whole lot of pent-up rage to buy 50 acres of forgotten woodland in northern Georgia, where old forestry lines outnumber street signs, and nobody with a badge wants to climb the ridge just to ask questions. It was federal land once sold off so quietly you'd have missed it if you blinked, and I made damn sure to document every inch of it, the tree markers, the boundaries, satellite overlays, even the faint orange USDA lines that flaked off like ashes when you brushed them. Over 2 years, I carved my home out of that dirt. With my own hands, poured concrete, stacked stone, set timber, made the place mine. I even hung a hand-carved sign out front Sloan Ridge. My dad never got to name his land before they took it. I swore I wouldn't make the same mistake. For 6 good years, it was just me, the woods, and a shotgun above the fireplace. Old habits die hard, you know. I hunted some mostly deer, sometimes coyotes, but honestly, I just liked knowing it was there. Peaceful, no trespassers, no letters, no drama. Neighbors kept their distance, maybe out of respect, maybe out of fear. Either worked for me. Then came a Tuesday in September, and with it an envelope so gaudy it practically announced trouble too much. Gold trim, heavy on the legalese, from something called the Silver Timber Village Homeowners Association. I laughed when I read it, choked on my coffee actually, because there wasn't and never had been a HOA anywhere near Sloan Ridge. But this letter had a tone, the kind of entitled certainty only a bureaucrat can muster, like I'd just forgotten to pay my dues and should be grateful they were giving me another chance. It was full of threats wrapped in velvet, preliminary jurisdictional review compliance hearing, and a whole heap of fines and injunctions if I didn't show up. I was halfway through rereading the part about border-aligned HOA expansion zones when I heard gravel crunching up my drive. 5 of them marched up, matching polos, khakis, clipboards, one with a chest camera, 2 with measuring tapes, the ringleader, a platinum blonde woman with a smile as cold as freezer burn. She called herself Karen Bliss, president of Silver Timber, and declared they were here for a compliance survey. No warrant, no permission, just a parade of entitlement. One of her guys mumbled something about standardization, like measuring my land was a favor. I didn't argue. I just went inside, came back out holding my Mossberg. Didn't point it, didn't even raise my voice, just let them see it and told them if anyone took another step, they'd get a hole in their belt line bigger than their legal argument. You ever see 5 adults freeze and forget how to breathe? That was them. Karen tried to play tough, threatened to call the cops. I told her to go right ahead. I'd call them too, and we'd let the sheriff sort out who was trespassing and who was defending their property. They scrambled out so fast, one tripped on a root, another ducked under a branch like it was gunfire, and Karen clutched her clipboard like it was a riot shield. That should have been the end of it, but 2 days later another letter showed up, this one official plain Manila County seal, certified mail. At first, my stomach nodded, no laughing this time. But when I checked the inspector's name against the state registry, he didn't exist. The docket number was bogus, and even the clerk at the county office told me someone was playing dress-up with government stationery. They'd forged the whole damn thing. It wasn't just me. That night, Walter Drexler called old Vietnam vet Lives half a mile south. He'd gotten the same letter, and some HOA punk had tried to bribe him into signing a property alignment agreement. Walter told him where he could shove the incentive, then cleaned his shotgun for good measure. Turns out the HOA was trying to manufacture a consensus paper over the truth, make it look like we all wanted to join their little kingdom. Next morning, I hiked my property and found 2 signs planted like victory flags. Silver Timber Village border access, subject to review. Ripped them out, snapped them in half, and started building my own evidence file. I installed motion-triggered cameras everywhere, backed up footage to the cloud, made sure every approach was covered. I might look like just another stubborn redneck with a gun, but I'd built entire court cases on less than a muddy footprint. I wasn't about to get outfoxed on my own land. A couple nights later, my motion lights flared at 2 a.m. I caught 2 silhouettes on camera, one fiddling with my generator shed, another poking at the utility pole. I hit the floodlights and played my pre-recorded warning, private property. Activity is being recorded and transmitted off-site. Law enforcement notified. They bolted, tripped, fell, scrambled like raccoons. Got it all on tape. Didn't call the sheriff, not yet. I wanted more. This was turning into a pattern, and I wanted to nail every last thread of it. The escalation came a week later, 2 sheriff SUVs and Karen's vanity-plated Suburban rolling up the trail. Deputies got out, with Karen and her minions clutching another temporary property restriction order, no judge's signature, no court seal, just more fake official nonsense. The coordinates were wrong, the maps a joke. I pointed out every flaw, let the deputies know they were being live-streamed to my attorney in Atlanta. Karen tried to make it sound like I was the threat to community cohesion. I cut her off. She'd brought law enforcement onto private land with forged paperwork. That's conspiracy, and I let them all know every camera on my property was rolling. Deputy Caldwell, to his credit, didn't take the bait, just said he'd report back. Karen, though, couldn't resist a final dig. "You're isolating yourself, Mr. Sloan. No one will stand with you when the community votes." I looked her dead in the eye. There is no community here. Just me and the law. They left their boots dragging, and I documented every second for what it was: attempted legal intimidation, plain as day. Things got real after that. I sent my files to Assistant District Attorney Maribel Trent, a woman with a voice like a wood chipper and the tenacity to match. She didn't waste words. This smells like racketeering. Within days, her team traced HOA money to a shell company run by Karen's own husband, all while fake notices kept popping up on properties as far as 2 miles from the official development. Walter came by with a folder so thick it looked like it should have a spine. Fake compliance deadlines, fraudulent offers, threats to elderly neighbors if they didn't upgrade their shutters. Then came the twist. Turns out the HOA was filing quiet title claims on old Federal Reserve parcels nearby, trying to create enough confusion to move the boundary lines by force. My contact at the Forest Service tipped me off, and that's when Maribel's office kicked into overdrive. They pulled warrants, subpoenaed documents, and coordinated with the USDA Inspector General, because when you mess with old federal forest lines, Uncle Sam gets nosy. The day of the raid, I stood on my porch with a thermos, watching the sun climb over the ridge while a helicopter circled low near the HOA office complex. By noon, word was out. Unmarked cars everywhere. Karen's Suburban, boxed in the HOA office, sealed assets. Frozen records seized, 3 folks detained. They found everything: fake letters, doctored maps, emails about quiet escalation against visual disruptions, which I figured meant stubborn old guys like me. There was even a flowchart: soft enforcement actions against resistors code for harassment with clipboards and fake violations. Trial came fast. The courtroom packed with landowners, angry neighbors, folks who'd had enough. I took the stand in boots and a flannel, laid out the evidence: timestamps, live streams, overlays, Supreme Court precedent. When I finished, Karen looked less like a president and more like a scared kid who finally got caught. The jury didn't need long. Guilty, fraud, conspiracy, falsifying documents, attempted seizure of private land. Karen got 12 years, her cronies 8. But the big win came when the judge dissolved the HOA and ordered its assets liquidated to fund a statewide defense fund for folks harassed by predatory HOAs. I didn't take a penny. Instead, I bought the land where the HOA office once stood. No one bid against me. I paid cash, hired a backhoe, and by sundown there was nothing left but a cedar post with a sign, "Here they tried to take what wasn't theirs." Folks started dropping pies and bottles on my porch for holding the line. They call me the man with the shotgun and the Constitution now. I guess there are worse things to be remembered for. A few months later, the Georgia Senate passed a reform bill, the Sloan Provision. Now, any HOA redrawing property boundaries needs federal review, and annexing land without written consent is a felony. I never asked for that honor, but I hung the plaque by my front door anyway. Sloan Ridge. This land is mine. No committee, no clipboard, no bluff can change that. So here's the real question for anyone listening. What would you do if someone tried to paper over your rights, your history, your home? Is justice just about holding a deed, or is it about holding the line when no one else will tell me your story? Let's see whose idea of justice stands tallest when the dust finally settles.